Hi everyone, welcome to Let's Celebrate TV Live. I'm your host, Peter Lee. With me today, as always, is this hoodlum I met about 25 years ago. You know him. He's the guy who makes everything happen. He's the director, producer, cameraman, editor, etc., etc. He's also my husband. It's Phil Gordimer.
And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are watching us live or on replay. And hopefully we're going to make it all the way through a live stream today without it dying halfway in the middle.
Exactly. Now, I have 3 glasses here because our friend Rob is also joining us today as part of our studio audience. We don't have our camera set up for him, but that's okay. I'm sure he'll make comments and commentary. I hope anyway.
So our
no
guys
promises.
from Pepper Tree like Thanksgiving.
Oh, yes.
And we've not been ignoring you guys, but I just had dental surgery on Tuesday, so the last couple of weeks I've been nuts. So we'll be in there tomorrow to see how you guys are doing. And I see Keith is in. And evidently our background music is popular. Been using it for a couple of weeks now.
So what were you saying, Rob? You started to say something?
No, I just said no promises about comments.
That's all right. That's okay. So we're opening today, as is the tradition, with Cranberry whiskey sours. And what is Thanksgiving about other than traditions? Probably a lot, but we'll get to that in a minute. So let me deliver these. For you.
Thank you.
For my bear. All right. And thank you all for joining us. Cheers, Rob.
Slime.
That's good.
Yeah.
A bit more egg white next time.
Yeah, well, there's a practical limit here. I mean, it's a double
Yeah, I'm doing
batch.
pretty good. So this is my first day drinking alcohol after
Yeah.
my surgery on Tuesday. So I wore dentures, top dentures for the last 3 years, and I'm over it. So, and I've never been able to afford the all-on-4 surgery because it's $20,000. And I said, screw it. Took money out of my IRA.
Okay, we don't need to share all that detail. And our social security numbers are...
Found a dentist I'm comfortable with. So Tuesday was surgery day. So these are just a temporary bridge.
Okay.
I'll get the permanent ones in about 3 months.
If he lives that long, because I may kill him before then. Who knows? So anyway, no, you have no PSAs, dear. No announcements, no PSAs.
No, Hank has already got the PSA.
All right, Hank.
Looks like everyone remembered to reset their clocks.
Yep.
Because the regulars are here.
Oh. But aren't there a couple states out west that don't even do daylight savings time?
That's what Hank's saying right
Yeah.
there.
Arizona's one of them. I thought Utah, maybe? We used to have someone in Utah.
Yeah, we did.
Indicates when Jean... Hello, Janine. All right, so it's all about Thanksgiving today, and that it's never too early to start planning, honestly. Every year... Yes? Oh, you looked concerned for a minute.
I'm looking
like
at
you were.
something, but go ahead.
Okay, all right. I get worried after the last 2 weeks with him when he goes, oh, yeah. Anyway, it's never too early to start planning for Thanksgiving. And in fact, you should be planning right now. If you haven't started, now's the time. Believe it or not, even with all the Halloween stuff I've been doing, it's been percolating in the back of my head. What are we doing? How are we doing it? Etc. So here's the question that started it all for this year's episode. I'm hosting my first Thanksgiving. Where do I start? Mary, we're going to tell you now. So I like to start with my guest list. Why? Because everyone has food issues. She doesn't like this. He can't eat that. He won't eat this. And then I have to think about, how am I going to cook for all these people? Once I get the guest list down, I start planning. So I've said it before, I've never really been a big fan of Thanksgiving, but I've kind of had this epiphany that Thanksgiving is, of all the holidays, it's the one about what LCTV is all about. Let's slow it down. Let's gather around the table, cook and eat real food and be together. So if you're going to take that attitude, you've got your guest list, where do you start? Next is the menu. You've got your guest list, you know who's coming, your menu. Plan big. Go crazy. Plan big. Want everything. Turkey, ham, buffalo, all the sides, all the desserts. Plan, plan, plan. And then edit it down. Cut it down. Do you need to have all of this crazy amount of food? The answer is probably not. Unless you're cooking for 30 maybe, but probably not. Once you edit that down, oh, thank you, dear. Once you start editing it down, that's when you can start making your shopping lists. And here's a new tip this year that I've learned this past year. Make yourself 2 shopping lists. Make one of all the non-perishable items that you can start buying now. So plan your menu, go through all your recipes. Make sure you have all the ingredients in all those recipes and that they're all fresh. You know, now's not the time to pull out the jar of poultry seasoning that your mother gave you for your wedding in 1972. It's time to toss that, put it on your shopping list to buy a new jar of it. So do all that, do that exercise. Then start looking at what can I make ahead, right? What can I make ahead of time? Put those on your shopping list now. And I like to do the 2 lists, especially the non-perishables. It's a little easier on your wallet. You can spread that cost out over a couple of weeks. So just add a few dollars more to your normal shopping list. Instead of running out the day before Thanksgiving and spending money that you really didn't want to spend and being stressed and crazed, start it now. Would you agree?
Most definitely.
Yeah. That's good. So, your other shopping list, usually the shopping list of perishable items, things you need to buy now. The other one is when you have to go out and get, oh, right.
Yeah.
Like, oops, a couple days before Thanksgiving, those are your perishable items. You know, cream, milk, butter, whatever else you need. Now wait, I have to do something. I hit start. There we go. Let's keep that on. Okay. Let's take a break and do a little cooking. We're starting off with an appetizer because we all start dinners with appetizers. And I'm going old school today. I've never made this before. It could be a future episode. Hi, Lance and Ken and Mr. Christopher.
It's not supposed to be Mr. Chester?
Yes, I thought not.
Did Mr. Chester change his name?
Yeah. Mr. Christopher, huh? Anyway, hi, doggy. We're making rumaki. Now, you're wondering, what is rumaki? And ew, that looks gross. Rumaki is this wonderful older appetizer from probably somewhere in the 40s that was popular up through the 70s. There are a lot of variations, but the classic way, there's a chicken liver and a water chestnut. Chicken livers have been marinated in water chestnut and then wrapped in bacon. So how bad can that be? I've already done a few, and I'll attempt to do one here on camera. One thing I learned in this exercise, make sure you buy nicely cut bacon. I did not get bacon that was sliced that nicely, so it was a little challenging, but we'll try it. All right, here's my bacon. And yes, my hands are impeccably clean. Little piece of chicken liver.
Thought I heard a kitty there.
They're kitties scratching. And then some water chestnuts. Now, I got them diced. I should have gotten them either whole and cut them. But we'll do it this way. All right, and we're just going to roll it up, easy, and onto our little tray. So it looks like that. You can, at this point, secure these with toothpicks if you want. What you'd want to do is soak the toothpicks in water first. Now, I tried this earlier, but because I don't have a whole chestnut in there, they're kind of falling over, but we'll do it just for insurance. Just to be sure everything stays together. Now, if you really don't like... Oh, we definitely need to start a shopping list for Friendsgiving. Last year we did bacon wrapped green beans. Oh, that's a great starter. Or side dish.
Yeah, we've done many versions of wrapped.
Well, I try and not do too many things of wrapped in bacon because everyone wraps everything in bacon, and then it's like, okay, this
And
is...
bacon's my pet peeve. If you don't know how to cook, you wrap it in bacon and people love it.
Yep. All right, I'm going to, according to the recipe I'm following, let me double check myself, pop this in the oven at 350 Fahrenheit and cook it for 15 to 20 minutes. And quick dear, 350 Fahrenheit is what Celsius?
Oh, 180.
180, thank you. Ziggy, set a timer for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
And then we'll check them. And here comes Max. Ooh. Excuse me. So, that's a great option as an appetizer for, oops, all right, Thanksgiving or really any party. Because it's a hearty little bite. It's best served warm. And I think your guests would probably like it. Okay, so let's move on. The one day of the year when I overeat, it seems, but then it's so good. That's right, we all do on that one day. And, it's nice to be able to spread that out over the day. So, we've talked about shopping lists. The 2 shopping lists. Ryan asks, are you hosting this year? Probably not, but you never know. That could change. And I'll be prepared because I have a plan. Anyway, so we talked about shopping lists, how you make up 2 of them, and it'll make your life so much easier. We talked about the menu. Go big. Plan for it all, edit it down to your favorites, and that's where you keep your guests in mind. Maybe you like turnips, but, Aunt Edna, who's coming, is allergic to turnips. Turnips, yeah. So do you really want to have them on the table if she's going to fuss about them? Or, maybe your sister has suddenly become a vegan, and then what do you do? So keep all that in mind when you're planning out that menu. All right, so when you look at your menu, is there anything that you can make early, make it now, and freeze it? And that's, my family always wants to bring something. How do I say no? That is a great question. And I have that same problem. And sometimes your family is just going to bring something, whether you like it or not, because they feel they have to, or they want to. I can't come to your house empty-handed. So, what you can do, instead of saying no, if you trust them enough, say, you know what, Rob, you could bring, you could bring a side dish. Bring the Brussels sprouts. Bring the turnips. And if you trust them enough to do that, then that's one less thing you have to do. Doug and I are hosting Friendsgiving for 9 to 10, Thanksgiving for 18 to heavenly days. Good for you guys. I think we did, what was the biggest Thanksgiving we did? We had 14?
Yeah, we're
Because of all the
not
kids
big
and all
on
the grandkids.
Thanksgiving, and we are very cognizant and remind our kids that it's important for they to set their own traditions. So we
Yep.
don't force them to come here.
Right.
We want them to not do the mandatory family shuffle and
Yeah.
let them do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times Thanksgiving is just, we did host last year. No, 2 years
2 years ago, we had everyone, all the kids, all the grandkids, ex-wives.
All right, so Lance has got a good one here. So let's get everyone in chat to tell
Okay.
us what your favorite side dish is for
Turkey Day, Thanksgiving. What's your favorite
TV
side dish for
blocks
Turkey Day?
the comments. Can you raise it a bit?
What blocks the comments?
Oh, she's watching on TV, so it looks like... Okay, let me see what I can do, Jeannie. I'm not sure because I don't control that. YouTube does.
Oh.
Let me see if I can make a change here.
Or as we used to call it in the kitchen, tea day.
Yeah.
You know.
I do.
Yeah, you talk.
Tea day.
I'm going to see if I
Yeah.
can make a minor
Okay.
change.
The most I ever cooked for in my family was, I think, 28.
28. We did, I think it was about 14, maybe 15. But it was fine. We figured it out. And,
I cook every year,
oh, well,
obviously.
yeah. I don't. If I can get away with not cooking, I won't. I'd rather cook for just he and I. Well, that's not entirely true. There have been years that I've insisted, yes, you're all coming here. Shut up. When you post the blue comments on screen, I mean.
All right, Janine, is that any better?
Okay. Anyway, well, they sort that out. You made me lose my train of thought. Okay. We talked about what can you make. Is there anything you can make now and freeze? And a lot of things like casseroles are great for freezing. So if you're doing a gratin, like I do a Brussels sprout gratin, I can make that now, wrap it up good and tight, and freeze it. And it's great reheated on Thanksgiving. I'll do that maybe a week or so before. If you don't mind them, sometimes you can freeze bread and rolls and things. Some people don't like reheated bread and rolls like that once they've been frozen. Like Phil doesn't like it. If I freeze rolls and then thaw them later and try and toast them, he just doesn't care for it. But look at your menu. You can probably do things like that. Let's talk about appetizers because everyone wants to know about appetizers. How are we doing?
All right, that's the best
away.
I can do, Janine, if that will help you.
It doesn't even look like
Yeah,
it?
it moved up about
Okay.
2 or 3 pixels.
Okay,
Problem
that's
is
not very
YouTube
much.
controls it on TVs.
Yeah, all
So
right.
there's not a whole lot I can do.
That's weird because it looks fine on our TV. Mm-hmm. Huh. Maybe it depends on the TV. I don't know.
That's the most I can raise it.
So, appetizers. I say don't do too many and keep them as light as you can. Maybe one hearty one, but I would say no more than a variety of 3 or 4. You don't want people filling up on apps and then they sit down to dinner and they can't eat. That was always the bane of my mother's existence. She would put stuff out all day and all of us kids would be munching, and then we'd sit down for dinner and no one could eat because we were too full. But I would keep them light. You can do a relish tray or crudité, veggie tray, whatever you want to call it. You could do things like that. Something light, some carrot sticks and celery sticks, some olives. Maybe do a warm app like a rumaki or a nice crusty pinwheel or something. But keep it light. Keep it moving.
Mini quiche, those are always
Mini
good.
quiches are always good. Yep, they're always popular. Things like that. Betty asks, what kind of wine should I serve with tea day dinner? Okay. Oh, excuse me. I'm curious your thoughts, Rob. I like to offer a variety of wines. I know a lot of people say you have to have white with poultry, but I don't always find that true. The whole red and white with whatever mostly is aimed at fish because the tannins in red wines can make even the freshest fish taste fishy. Not always, but sometimes. Yeah, poultry is lighter, so a white wine would be nice, but I offer variety. I'll do a red, a pink, and a white. Hello, Karen. So I want to say hi while I'm at work, freezing ahead of... Yes, ahead is the way to go with casseroles. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. So glad you're here.
What are you pouring today, Karen?
Yeah. She's another channel and a good friend of our channel. So yeah, I like to offer variety, and I always keep some sparkling wines and non-alcoholic sparkling wines on hand too for people who can't drink. But yeah, offer variety. So that's apps. We talked about wine, which is nice. Would you agree with that? I mean, what do you do?
Although I'm not a wine aficionado, I know that for the most part, you can go back and forth across the board. It is not strictly white with, you know, pork, chicken, and vice versa with darker meat.
Mm-hmm. Pepper tree. Put that back up.
Oops,
I didn't see
hold
it.
on.
Pinot Grigio for white and maybe a good cab for red. Sure, absolutely. 2 of my favorites. Are we building a map today?
No.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
I don't want to do any of that until I'm sure we get a complete live
Okay.
stream.
Yeah.
And then we will go back to
Right.
next week having our featured small channel. I have 2 already set up and building our map. But right now I want to get through one full live
Yeah.
stream.
Because it's going to be about that time where it's.
And I want to,
crapped
shake
out
off
on
the
us.
curse of
Yeah. As
Facebook.
Dixie told us, the curse of the mummy dogs. Are Dixie and Phil in? What? I'm doing a couple of sparkling brut and a Meiomi Pinot Noir. Nice.
Tell her about our
What?
champagnery.
So there is a champagnery out on Long Island, Karen, called Sparkling Point, and we just joined them. After many years of going there, we joined their club, and we joined, and like 2 days later, they called and said, "Oh, we're about to send out the fall shipment. Would you like it?" Sure. And what was it? 8 bottles?
Yeah.
And it arrived the very next day, a variety of champagnes and sparkling wines, and so, yeah, I like having that much sparkling wine in the house. Pinot does go with everything. All right, let's move on and let's talk about the main event, the big guy that Thanksgiving is all about, the turkey. Everyone asks the turkey. Donna says, I like to have the holiday dinners early, no later than 3 p.m. Planning for that is tough. Yeah, my mother used to do that. Plan for it just like you would this. We've talked about this. You're going to work backwards. You're going to look at all your recipe, and you're going to work backwards and figure out, okay, the dessert. When do I need to make that? How long will it take me to make? Do I need to make it ahead of time? And then, okay, the turkey's going to take X amount of hours. I need to put that in at this time. So that means I need to put the oven on at that time. So you work backwards and you plan it that way. At least that's what works for me. Yeah, we saw that. Pinot goes with everything.
Here, hold on. I'm just trying to make another edit. Go ahead.
Okay.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Also, different means of seasoning, whether you,
Right.
some people brine,
Yep.
some people dry rub. I
Correct.
personally dry rub, do it the night
Yep.
before.
Absolutely. Right. You have to keep all that in mind. So let's talk about turkey. Now, personally, I think smaller is better. I'd rather cook 2 smaller birds at once than try and cook a great big giant bird and hope that the thighs get done before the breast dries out. You can also cook a medium-sized bird and then some extra parts like legs and thighs for all those people. So Angela asks, I'm cooking for 8. How big of a turkey do I need? So recommended, we actually have this chart. People in pounds. So if you're doing 6 people, you want a 9-pound bird. Thereabouts. 8 people, 12 to 15 pound would be your answer. And that's the size bird that I like to cook.
The general rule of thumb is you have 1.5 pounds of solid turkey for each person, keeping in mind that it counts for bones and all that.
Right.
So
Right. So 10 people would be about 15 pounds at the least, and so forth and so on. But I really prefer to cook 2 smaller birds when I had a big crowd. A couple of years ago when we hosted, that's what I did. I cooked 2 small birds. And you can, I have 2 ovens, so it was easy, but you could do it in one if you really had to. But yeah, we had, a few years ago, someone wrote in on this very live stream. Do you remember that, dear?
yes, I do.
And it was like the Sunday before Thanksgiving, so we're just a couple days away. And she's like, well, I'm cooking a 30-pound turkey. When should I take it out of the
Here
freezer?
we go.
Oh, and then Aaron's asking, when is the best way to thaw turkey? When should I start? Okay, so this woman, it's like 4 days before Thanksgiving. When do I take it out of the freezer? And we were like, girl, you in danger. You need to go out and buy a new turkey, a fresh turkey right now because it'll never thaw in time. So Aaron, what is the best way to thaw the turkey and when should I start? That's going to all depend on how big of a turkey. The best way I find, and this is, so our friend Rob, I wasn't going to call you out, but I will. He's a former chef also. So I would say my favorite way to thaw it is over number of days in the fridge. Put it on a pan if anything leaks, but in the fridge slowly. There are lots of ways to do it faster, but I prefer in the fridge.
The general rule of thumb is you need to allow 1 day for every 4 pounds of frozen turkey. Therefore, a 20-pound turkey needs 5 days in the refrigerator
At least.
to thaw.
At least. I like to build in an extra day. Just in case, because I've had times where I follow that rule and Thanksgiving Day and like, oh, it feels really thawed, and then I reach in and it's all ice inside and still frozen solid. You've been there, I'm sure. Yep.
There's tricks.
Yeah, there are tricks. There's the cold water trick where you keep changing the water and things like that. What you don't want to do is leave it out on your counter for days at a time.
You guys know you have a solid invite.
Yeah. Yeah, Janine, Vinny, we need to figure that out. Yeah, you wouldn't want to just leave it out. Like probably our mothers and grandmothers did. It's just too scary of a thing to do that. People always ask, oh, Ziggy, cancel. Let's check our rumaki. And then I'm going to take a break and we're going to cook some more. But let's check the rumaki.
Yeah, Peter and I are members of a number of wine clubs in this area. It's called the Atlantic Coastal Region, and Long Island, New York, the North Fork Wine Trail has
that's our
200
favorite.
wineries
At
and
least.
vineyards in a 20-mile area.
Hold on.
So we make the 5-hour trip.
Ziggy, set a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
This rumaki recipe, as I was looking them up, some of them said 425 for half an hour to 45 minutes, and I thought, that's going to burn everything to a crisp. This one said 350 for 15 to 20 minutes, and I thought, that's barely going to cook the bacon. So we'll see. 15, it's kind of almost there. We'll go a few more minutes.
All right, let's see what everyone said they liked as their favorite side.
Okay, and then I'll be wondering if it's what I'm going to make
Before I
next.
do that, though, Janine said her sister just had the same surgery and she's happy. So far, I'm very happy. I had no swelling, no bruising, no nothing.
But soft foods for 3 months, so.
All right, so we've got very Maryland, but corn pudding.
Yeah, very good.
Ken says garlic smashed potatoes.
Of course, garlic.
Janine says it's always stuffing. I go.
Me too, Janine. I am all about the stuffing.
Yeah, I'm not.
Or dressing.
I say if it's in the bird, it's stuffing. If it's outside, it's dressing.
Correct.
But it's also regional, I have found.
Julia Child's favorite, Pepperidge Farms goldfish. Hank says fresh cranberry relish with a little Grand Marnier and cracked pineapple. Ooh, yeah. All
Okay.
right, Hank.
I make it with Grand Marnier. I don't put pineapple in it. I'll have to try
Hey,
that
Hank,
this
we didn't
year.
get the weather report. What's
I do a
happening out in
bourbon one.
Phoenix? And
Bourbon,
then
really? Bourbon.
Lance
That'd be
wants to
good.
start with New England
Yeah.
clam chowder.
Adaptation of a Michael Simon thing.
Okay. I can get into that. Okay. Was that all of the side dishes? All right, here's an interesting side dish for you. And you make a, ooh, I don't know. I'm going to make cream spinach today. It's pretty quick. It's pretty easy. And, you probably think cream spinach is just some ground up spinach and this tasteless sauce, and it looks gross, and I hate it. But you can make it really flavorful. Get some heat in my pan. And we're going to start with some butter. If Dad has to eat soft foods, then a mashed potato sandwich is perfect. Except he can't eat bread. Sorry, Kevin. Can't bite through. Mashed potatoes, yes, but no Sammys.
Though, Kevin,
Squish,
it was
squish.
a perfect excuse for cream chip beef yesterday at the diner.
Yep. Put some butter in the pan.
Oh, Hank says 68 degrees.
Oh, wow.
That's freezing for Phoenix.
Yeah. So we got some butter melting.
Oops, let's get the right camera on. There you go.
Okay, there we go. And I'm going to put in finely minced shallot. You could use onions. I happen to have some shallots. And we're just going to let this go to soften. Here they are. We'll hit it with some salt and pepper. Jody says, even with a list, I always forget something. You know what? I do too. Every year. And then Thanksgiving Day, I'm sending him out to the store. Little salt. Salt your layers. And that'll help these get going, release their juices, and start to soften. And
Where's the
honestly,
help when we need them?
Rachel, we have 6 kids, all teenagers. Oh, heavens. And they all help. My 15-year-old son has become my main sous chef. Oh, that's nice. I can't imagine 6 teenagers at once.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. One was enough. So if you don't know what a shallot is kind of in between onion and garlic. It looks kind of like a flower bulb. But it's oniony, it's garlicky. Some people say they're more mild than onions. I don't know, but the flavor's a little different. And they're really great in dishes like this. They're great for sauces, for vinaigrettes. And it smells really good already because frying onions, who doesn't love that smell?
Oh, I see what she's talking about.
What? Oh, okay.
YouTube is putting up ads for our aprons and shirts.
Oh.
And it's covering up. I know how to fix that.
Okay, good.
Hang on.
Very good.
Let me unpin that.
Okay.
That's what it
Very
is.
good. So while we're doing this, let's talk about the turkeys still and the cooking method. Do you brine? Do you dry rub? Do you inject? And then, what do you like to do? Do you roast it? Oh, Ziggy, cancel. 83 degrees here in Pompano. Oh,
Florida.
yeah, I know. I know. Let's check the rumaki. Yeah, they're looking better, I think. Well, I'm doing a little longer. 5 more minutes. I agree.
Wow, that's been in for a long time.
Ziggy, set a timer for 5 more minutes.
You have no active timer, so I'll start one. 5 minutes, starting now.
Thank you. All right. So, what is your preferred method to cook your turkey? I've never brined. I've done dry rubs. I've never done you see those injector kits. But I've done where you put the herb butter under the skin and all of that. I really like that. And then I like a slow roast. All right. These are softening and browning. In goes the spinach. I don't know how much this is, but I do know it's going to wilt down to nothing. I'm going to give this a little bit of salt here. Put on the rest. One more tiny bit of salt right on top. And I'm going to cover this to help it wilt down. What's that, dear? We do potluck for Thanksgiving, so every person is in charge of a dish. You know, I hear a lot of people that do that. I'm too much of a control freak. I don't know that I could trust people in our family. I guess I could, but I've been burned by that before. I really have.
Your pet peeve.
I always miss the pop-up timer in my turkey overcooked. Yeah, and you know what? I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Because I have to say, ignore that. Rip it out of the bird or leave it there, but just ignore it. Because by the time those things...
Pop-up timer happens, it's already overcooked.
Yeah. Because it takes it to reach a certain temperature to make that happen, and your bird's dead already. It's overcooked. So I like a slow roasting. I have a big roaster with a lid. Sometimes I use a lid, sometimes not. But I like it just low and slow and just let it go. Let it all get... Now, a lot of people do things, and I don't know if you ever heard of this. They start the turkey upside down.
Yes.
Yeah. You take offense to what, Kevin? The one teenager? Well, yeah. Yeah, I don't mind doing that with a chicken, but I struggle doing it with a turkey. But I've heard of people doing that. And then once that part is done, you go in and flip it over. But that could be hard to do. You know, a hot 20-pound turkey, you know. How do you get around that? How do you get around the pop-up timer?
Wayne's got a good question for you.
Okay, you're going too fast with these questions, dear. I'm trying to answer a question from 5 minutes ago, and now you ruined live stream. Right, hold on, Wayne. I'll answer that in a minute. Let's talk about turkey and the pop-up timers. Ignore the pop-up timers. You could leave it there so you don't have a big gaping hole in your turkey. This is your best friend. What is this? This is a probe thermometer. So, this guy here gets put into the bird, and there's this long cord that comes out of the oven and gets plugged into this. And you can set the temperature. Try to do the backwards. You can set what temperature you want it to end at. It will tell you what temperature you're starting at, and it'll go off when you reach the desired temperature, and it shows you up here. And this is really going to be your best friend. I know some ovens, some fancy ovens come with them built in, and that's fine. But if you don't have that, this is your best friend. And this is good not just for turkeys, for anything that you're roasting, a roast beef, a turkey, a chicken, a buffalo, whatever it is.
That particular model he has is also made by Thermapen,
Right.
which we highly recommend, and you'll see most chefs and restaurants use. They are expensive, they're $100, but the accuracy, and it takes 1 second to
Right.
get a temperature, is worth it.
So put the back here. Back here. There we go. So there's also this type, which is, you can use them in concert. This is the Thermapen, and then this gives you an instant reading. So if you're not sure you have your probe in the right spot, use this to check it, and it shows you what almost instantly what the temperature is. And there are variations of these on the market. You don't have to have a cool purple one like I do. All right, I'm going to shut this down. Ziggy, cancel.
Umaki's taking a long time.
Well, I've never tried this recipe before, dear. All right. Let me pull the spinach out. And then we'll build the rest of the sauce for it. Shallot's got a little ton. I'm still not used to this burner. It runs so much hotter than a normal. Maybe it's time to switch to the induction.
Okay. So there's your answer. Dixie and Phil are watching.
Awesome. Glad to hear that.
Just remember, it's never burnt. It's just aggressively caramelized.
It is. You're right. Aggressive.
No, it's
I like
burnt.
that. No, it's just a little brown, dear.
If you
Little.
have to scrape it off, it's burnt.
I'll scrape you off with your all-in-4 implants. Let's put this
Blah, blah,
aside and check the rumaki. If they're not done by now, they're never going to be done. I'm sure the livers are, though. All right, that's looking much better. So here we are out of the oven. Bacon looks browned and crispy, and they look pretty tasty. We gotta let them cool just a little bit because the marinade was soy sauce and brown sugar, and I don't think I want to put molten brown sugar in my mouth. No, not so much. So let these cool, then we'll do a little tasting, and maybe with a fresh glass of wine because I got the short end of the cocktail.
Thoroughly agree. They're an investment, but they're worth every single penny.
Thermapen, yeah, yep,
Worth every penny.
yep.
You want to go back to this question?
Sure. How to keep mashed potatoes warm without getting them dried out? That's a good question. Very good question. So, I like to put them in a crock pot, in a slow cooker. Keep it on low. It'll keep it warm. You could wrap it up and put it in a low oven, but sometimes, even then, unless it's a really tight-fitting lid, you get that little crust on it. So I find a slow cooker really helps with that. Now, if you don't have a slow cooker, super low oven. Or you could, if you have a cooler, believe it or not, put some towels down in the cooler, some kitchen towels, put that hot dish right in a cooler. They're thermal, they can keep things warm or cold. Okay, so where were we? You were hitting me rapid fire questions.
Here's another one.
Okay, all right. He's not gonna let up today, and I'm not gonna get through my outline. And then you're all kind of like, what do I do now for Thanksgiving? So it's his fault. Paul says, I love family and the holidays, but there always seems to be a shouting match over politics. Okay.
Only 4 more days.
I'm going to try this one more time, dear. Really, because I have some important things to get through. And we've only got 15 minutes left. So while I'm doing this...
So we'll go late.
Okay, but while I'm doing this, why don't you go open me a glass of wine? That'll distract him. Okay, so... Yeah, see, you've got me all confused now. So we talked about size of turkey, cooking method. I like to roast. Some people like to fry. Be very careful with frying. Don't, clearly, common sense. Don't set it up in your garage or on the deck. Do it outside, level. Make sure you read and watch all the videos and things because you don't want to just like drop a turkey and have what'll happen. To stuff or not to stuff? I prefer not to stuff. I prefer using aromatics. Sure, we all grew up on stuffed turkeys, and it's delicious. But a lot of times, by the time that stuffing is done, the bird is overdone. And you think, oh, but it's already cooked, and it's just heating through. No, it's going into a raw turkey, so it's touching all that. So by the time that part gets cooked enough, it's not so much. Plus, it slows down the cooking time of the turkey. A lot of people think, oh, I have a 10-pound turkey, I have to put it in at 5 in the morning. No, you're not. No, it's not going to take that long to cook. Read the labels on the cooking and use a thermometer, and you'll find it doesn't take 10 hours to cook a bird like that. Okay, so let's go back to our cream spinach. Let that cool a bit.
Oops.
That's fine. No, you are fine. It's all good, dear. It's all good. For real. All right. Here's my pot. I have some heavy whipping cream here. Now, some recipes call for making a roux. I did not find that necessary because I'm using full heavy cream. You could make a roux if you're using half and half or milk, and it might be a little lighter, and you can thicken it with a roux. But it's Thanksgiving, so I'm going all out. So let me put the heat back on. I'm going to make sure it's low. Because these little butane burners run a lot hotter. And this is pretty simple. I'm pouring this in. We're going to bring it to a boil, and it will thicken all on its own. Just like that. And we're just going to keep an eye on it and give it a stir.
It'll pick up really good flavor from all the fond on the pan.
Yep, I was just going to say that. All that nice brown bits and things.
Yep, we've done this a couple times.
Yep. And you can add some more seasoning to this. What was that?
Doug Spatchcocks.
Doug will always do a spatchcock on our turkeys. They do cook fast that way. Yeah, I've done many spatchcock birds. And people think you can't do it with a turkey. You can. It's maybe a little more effort than a chicken or a Cornish game hen, but worth it. It's a great way, especially if you're going to do it on a grill. It's a great way to prepare a bird. Thank you, dear.
Another thing you can do, which I've done in the past, is detach the legs.
Yeah. And then you can cook them separately.
Or you just
All
move them
together.
up against the bird, and
Yeah.
basically they end up cooking at the same time.
Okay.
Finishing at the same time.
That's why I sometimes recommend to people, if you have a bigger crowd, or if you have people, a lot of people like dark meat. Like all my brothers would always fight over, the legs and thighs. So buy some extras. If you don't want to cook 2 birds, you can get turkey parts. You can get thighs and legs, drumsticks. Cook them on Thanksgiving Day too, and you can probably cook them all with the same bird, so it gets all the same flavors. Patty says, I took your advice from last year and I'm making 2 small turkeys instead of one big one. Good for you. Let me know how that works out, because I found it to be a game changer for when we do a bigger crowd. Dixie says, what the hell? You must have stuffing and not the bland dressing. Well, but there's too many risks. I love the flavor, I agree, but I don't want a dried up bird either. And you can make stuffing pretty flavorful even without it being in the bird. So I switched to red wine because I only got a teeny bit of that cocktail.
So,
Ooh, what was that we're drinking?
Malbec.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is coming up, but we're going to avoid this
Yeah.
and tell them why.
Yeah, so need suggestions for desserts other than pumpkin or apple pie. We're going to tell you at the end. So stay tuned because we've got info about desserts. But not till the very end, which is not too far along. Okay. I've kind of already covered that. Know your recipes, right? Know your recipes. Go through them. Make sure, I said earlier, make sure you have all the ingredients for everything. Make sure they're all fresh. Your spices, your flour, baking powder, baking sodas, whatever you need, make sure it's all good and fresh. Figure out your timeline. Look at the cooking temperatures and the cooking times of all your recipes and figure out when things need to go in the oven. Someone always asks me every year, so Kelly asks, I only have one oven and can't figure out how to get everything to be done at the same time. Well, again, you're going to look at your recipes. I like to work backwards. Okay, dessert. How long does it take to do the pumpkin pies? Okay, I can do those the night before. That's off the list. What's going to take the longest? The turkey. Okay, the corn pudding has to be at this temperature. This has to be at that temperature. So I need to know how long will it take? When do I need to turn the ovens or turn them on? Increase the heat. But it's just an exercise you can do. And it really isn't difficult. And practice. You'll figure it out.
Another good thing is when have all your sides prepped,
Yep.
and then once you pull the turkey to rest, put all your sides in the oven, get them warm,
Yep.
and you can pick everything up at the same time.
And as you're cooking these recipes, I get this question every single year. And actually, I think someone asked it already, but you want to do your mise en place, right? It's not just a fancy chef saying or that TV cooks do to show off their little containers of every little thing. It makes life so much easier. And that way, if you have to have chopped carrots, they're already chopped and waiting, and then you assemble it into the pan and cook it up per the recipe. You're not trying to boil this and stir and chop really quickly. That's all fake on TV. Or for much more experienced chefs than me, I prefer to have it all done, each dish. Then, and here's my biggest secret that a lot of people miss, and I think we had a question about this. Clean as you go.
You mean that?
That's the one. I host every year and I hate it. I always have a huge mess even before we eat. Clean as you go. You're making rolls. Measure out your flour. Put the flour away. Don't just leave it on the counter. Put it away where it belongs. Okay? Your rolls are done. You're in the oven. Before you go on to the next dish, clean up. Wash the bowl. Wipe down the counters. Wash whatever you need to wash. Put it all away where you need it. And then go on to your next recipe. It's so much less stressful. And then, by the time you go to sit down to dinner, you might have the dirty pan from the turkey. Janine says, oh, good. Having red with you. We're all having a little red. The last few years, we use sausage from a local sausage maker. For our dressing, we always use sausage from Wolfson. And that's great, yeah. I may this year order a turkey from our Amish market. Mother's secret to dressing that tastes as good as the stuffing is to cook the giblets with the same seasonings as the bird and then add it to the dressing before cooking. Sure, you could do that. I prefer to use those giblets in the gravy, but you could absolutely, there's all kinds of stuffing recipes out there.
And it's commercial time. If you're watching us live, and 18 of you are, take a second and hit that like button. And when the show is over, please leave a comment. YouTube likes comments. Since we seem to have gotten through our live stream without having a problem, starting next week, we will bring back our small channel, and we'll bring back the map and all those things you used to. I'm glad to not have to be worrying about did the live stream finish. And frankly, with not dealing with Facebook, I have a lot less software on this side to juggle.
Very good. Let's check out our Rumakis. I think they are, yeah. I don't know if you can eat this or not, dear. It's bite size. It's pretty, no? All right.
I won't be able to chew the bacon.
Okay. It's all good. Are you in?
Janine says, how long do I simmer the heavy cream in the spinach?
Well, I don't know.
Till it's thick.
Till it's thick as you want it. 5 minutes, 7 minutes. This could go a little longer, but I'll probably put the spinach in just for demonstration. And again, you could speed it up with using a roux. But when you're using straight heavy cream, I don't know that you really have to. This is reducing nicely. And really, excuse me. Thank you, Dixie. Yes, we beat the curse of the...
A week of Facebook Live.
Yeah. Oops. Okay. Oh, good. They came off easily. All right. There's a few on that plate.
Hopefully those chicken
for
livers
me.
aren't hammered.
Well, I don't know, dear. I've never made this before. So maybe the one recipe I saw that said, 450 for however long was true. So you get crispy bacon. We'll find out. Olivia, my family is more interested in football on TV than eating Thanksgiving dinner as a family. Oh, that's unfortunate. And I don't know the answer to that. Excuse me. Not my recipe, so if it's horrible, oh well.
Let's see how your cream's doing. Oh, there
Yeah.
you go.
Yep, now we go. All right, this is thickening up. Reducing down nicely. I'm going to put the spinach back in at this point. Now notice I did not cut up the spinach, and that's what a lot of recipes call for, the chopped up spinach. And the reason I didn't is because I wanted the texture of the whole leaves. One last ingredient that I'm going to put in right now at the very end. Thank you. And that's nutmeg. You've seen me use nutmeg before. That's a whole nutmeg. I don't like the pre-ground kind now. It's a little more expensive, but it's much more flavorful. The key is you can't use as much of the fresh nutmeg as the ground. How are the Rumakis? Okay? Yeah? Okay. All right. And I like to put it in right at the end so I can taste it. All right, that's probably more than I need. And at this point, of course, we'll taste for seasoning and adjust if we need to. Turn that off. Because carryover cooking. Everyone here should take a picture of their table, food, and desserts with their family and then post them in Facebook. Sure, I'm down for that. Let's give a little taste. Let's hope I don't burn my mouth. Pretty good, but it does need a little more salt and pepper. Spinach takes a lot of salt, probably more than you think you would want. But it is also something like this. You know, I always tell you don't add it at the table because you just get salty food, but in this case, I think it'll work with the sauce. It'll get through it. And pepper. You know, you're going to go, I don't taste the pepper, but you'll miss it if it's not there. It adds that depth of flavor in the background.
Also, with the fattiness of the cream, you need more salt.
Yeah. Yep.
Could be a hair thicker. Last night's
hair
was a little
thicker.
thicker than that.
I know, but you know, the clock is ticking.
So, for exactly 1 hour, we can go. The fact that we didn't
I
die in half an hour in, we're good.
Okay. This has potential.
Is the chicken overcooked? Or
Actually, the texture of it is very good.
See, I
love
get
liver.
worried because in order to get the bacon crispy, you tend to have to overcook things.
Well, but that's why you don't cook it first. You put it in raw. That's great, Janine. Yeah. All right. I'm going to play with this more. And that could be an episode 2. All right. So what else do we have to cover? We've talked about mise en place, clean as you go. Use slow cookers and thermoses, even coolers to keep things warm and save on oven space. Those are little hacks. What you don't want to do, and I think Rob, you'll agree, don't think, oh, it's cold. I can put this out on the back porch and it'll stay cold enough and be safe. Don't do that. Even if you have an enclosed porch, unless it's, you know, like 30 degrees out, don't think that, don't risk it. There have been too many. Plus, if you live like here, you don't want to attract any animals by putting food outside. So service. How do we serve? Do you do buffet? Do you do family style? Do you do restaurant style? I think it all depends on where you live, how big your crowd is, the layout of your home. We, as much as I don't like them, we usually do buffet because it just works with the layout of our house. I don't like really too much family style where people are dishes all over and reaching and it's crowded, and just put it all out, let them make their plates, and then we can sit down.
In the kitchen with Janine once asked Rob, how does it taste?
Which, the rumaki or the rumaki? It is very, very good. It's bacony. You get the liver. It's nice and soft. It's not overdone. The livers were marinated in soy sauce and brown sugar, and they got like a little more of that flavor in. The recipe said let them go for an hour. I let them go for about an hour and a half, just the way things worked out today, but I think I can punch it up. You do get, if you get a little piece of the water chestnut, there's that nice crunch in there, but I can see using a whole one or even a half would be really nice. So you get a crunch, you get the richness of the liver, smokiness of the bacon. So yeah, I'll play around with this and you'll be seeing this because I think this will be a great appetizer for the holidays.
Yeah, I agree on that. Maybe something in the seasoning that you put the livers in, something
Right.
with some spice.
Yep. You could add ginger, would, just off the top of my head, would add a nice little warmth without it being spicy.
Some heat, like a little
Right.
sriracha or something like that.
Yep. You could also, one recipe I read, you boil the glaze down, the marinade down, and then use it as a glaze during cooking. If you want to spend that much time. I don't know. I don't know that I want to have to take it out every 5 minutes and paint it, and, you know. Speaking of which, there we go. Someone said something about politics and fights and families. Think about your seating chart. Think about where you're putting all these family people together. And I tell you this every year. Do you want conservative Aunt Sally sitting next to liberal cousin Fred and have them fight over politics or policy or whatever? The answer is no. So think about where you're putting people and do what we do. We have a hard and fast rule. There is no discussion ever about the 3 G's. Guns, God, and government. There's 3 rules, 3 things, no discussions. We will ask you to leave. Phil will be the bad guy. He loves being the bad guy for that. He will walk you to the door. You can
I
take it
love
outside.
doing that. Wow, you don't let freedom of speech. No, there is no
civil discussion.
discussions of any of those three. You're not going to change people's minds, and you're just going to get into a shouting match. And if you're coming to our house to be a guest, I don't want to be a shouting match. I will ask you to leave.
And I don't care if it's mom or grandma or Uncle Fred or whomever. It's your house.
Your house, your rules.
Right. I just bought an air fryer. Can it join in and keep stuff warm? I don't know. I've never used one, but I guess it could if you kept it on really low.
I've never used one.
Yeah.
We at least are lucky enough to have dual ovens.
Probably
and then with
could,
this one
Janine.
down here, we actually
Yeah.
have three.
You probably could if you did it on low. I would do some Googling on that because that would be a great tool to have. With the bacon, have you thought about partial cooking the bacon and roll it up? No, because I've never made this recipe before, so I was just following. None of the recipes I read did that. Pepper tree, all of that rule. Yeah, guys, it's such an important thing, and it really has made life easier. And we've had people squabble a bit about, oh, you're infringing on my first right, but then they get over it because they have a stress-free evening, or at least it appears that way. They may be swallowing their rage down at the person over there with different views, but at least they're being polite and getting through the evening instead of getting everyone upset. So that's drama, that stuff. Tablescapes. How do you set your table? I say two things. It's a holiday. Use the best that you have. If the best you have is paper plates, then yeah, use paper plates. If you have grandma's china that's sitting in the china closet collecting dust, come on, pull it out, wash it, use it. That's what it's there for. Now I like to keep tablescapes not too crowded, and I like centerpieces that are low. It's beautiful when you see these tables and they have these big floral arrangements and you go, oh, but then I can't see the person across from me to talk to them. So keep them low. Candles are a good thing. My father made my oldest brother just keep his mouth closed. Hey, whatever works, Richard. Yeah. Whatever works.
No semicolons.
Oh, right. That's right, Richard. No semicolons. Why is a tablescape important? You're probably wondering, like, who cares? We're just going to gobble it down in 2 minutes anyway. You know, there's a saying in the restaurant world that you eat with your eyes first. The feast begins with the eyes. So when you come into someone's house and you look in the dining room or kitchen, wherever it is, and you go, oh, look at that beautiful table. You're already automatically going, oh, this is going to be an experience. That's why restaurants make such a big fuss about getting the plating just right. You know, when you think, oh, it's too fancy schmancy, but when you see that beautiful plate come out, you automatically, even subconsciously, think, wow, and it's going to taste better, and you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to remember that experience. So that's why starting with the table, putting that effort, and that's something you can do ahead of time, unless you have cats like we do. But yeah, if you can do your table a couple days before, do that, and really put the effort to make it beautiful.
It's all a sensory experience.
It is, right. You're right. It's a sensory experience. And people may not remember if the bird was dry or if the pie was cold, but they're going to remember, wow, remember that table we sat at and everything was so beautiful. And yeah, so that's why it's important. All right, dear. So we've gone 10 minutes over. Shall we wrap this up and let these good people go on with their day? I know we're having fun, but...
And it's all working.
It's all
so
working.
We can
We
go
made
back
it.
to normal next week and feature our small
2 weeks,
channels.
yes.
And just as a reminder, if you watch other cooking small channels,
Yep.
please send them our way. We're looking for small channels that have 2,000 to 3,000 subscribers or less, that post a video at least once a week, and that they show a face and a personality. We tend to steer away from channels that only have a camera pointing down at their food and describing it.
And some that don't
we
even
think
bother to
the
do
people and the
that.
personality is just as important as what they're trying to cook. And we'll take a look at them. And I need to apologize for all of the 200 channels that I'm normally tracking with this surgery and we've had a terrible 2 weeks at work.
Yeah.
We are super behind
Yeah.
in getting around to all of the channels. I try to get around to every channel at least once a week.
I have
and I
too.
try
I've
to
been
make
making some
everyone's
comments here and
live
there.
streams. We hope to be back to normal, seeing everyone's live streams and making comments again.
Yep.
And I'm feeling pretty good considering I only had this on Tuesday.
All right, so let's wrap this up. What's coming up next with Let's Celebrate TV? Someone asked about desserts. In 2 weeks, our next live stream is all about Thanksgiving desserts. Right?
Yep, the
Okay.
title is Wobble Till You Gobble Thanksgiving Desserts.
All right, there
Excuse
you
me,
go.
Gobble Till You Wobble Thanksgiving Desserts.
I'm the one who wobbles. Okay, so that's why we didn't talk too much about desserts tonight, because in 2 weeks we're going to tell you all about it. What else is coming up? Well, the cream spinach is coming up. Rumaki, I think, is coming up. I am working on, and I should have it up for next week, a sourdough dressing recipe. It's pretty good. I have a cocktail coming up that I really, really like, and I think you will too. And it sounds a little wacky, but it's delicious. It's called a blackberry balsamic Manhattan. And yeah, think about that. Balsamic in a cocktail. Mind-blowing. It's delicious. I also have a great app coming up, ham and cheese pinwheels. Not what you may think as a pinwheel. It's quite delicious. We love making pumpkin roll as a dessert option. My brother is a big fan. Oh yeah, I've heard a lot of people do that. Yeah, I've heard of that before, as an addition or as a alternative to pumpkin pie.
We've got some really unique ones. Though everyone wants to do pumpkin and apple pie, we're probably going to not do them just because
well,
everyone does them.
We'll see. We've got
But
2
we'll
weeks
see.
here. I've never been able to do a jelly roll type of thing like that. I'm not a baker. So, Pepper Tree, if you have a great easy way to do it, I'd love to see a video for that. Okay, so that is about it. Manhattan sounds amazing. I may have to do it on a... Yes, well, we'll get that one out too. It really is good. All right, so I think we're about to wrap up. We'll be in chat for a few minutes after this is ended. So thank you all for joining us today, and cheers.
We're still here for
Why
the
are we still
moment.
here?
And we shall resume programming in 2 weeks with all of our normal stuff.
Yep.
And here's everybody in chat today, and we shall see you.